Thank you for coming to watch Hunt Country Equine's video on lower limb bandaging. My name is Dr. Mina DeBoer and I will be presenting the video. Before you start bandaging, you're going to need to collect a few things. A non-adherent dressing, also known as a telfa pad, a cotton conform roll or cast padding, a gamgee or cotton roll, brown gauze, vat wrap, and elasticon. As a side note, the cotton roll may not be in the equine portion of your local feed store, so check the livestock medical portion as well. Next, you are going to take your cotton roll or gamgee and roll it out into approximately 3-foot sections. You then cut those sections into individual pieces and roll them as seen in the picture. You now have everything that you need to bandage your horse. For the first step, you're going to need your telfa, your conform or cast padding, and disposable gloves. If you do not have disposable gloves, you must at minimum have freshly washed hands. I like to tuck my conform in my pocket while I unwrap my telfa. When I open my telfa, I try not to touch the side of the telfa that I plan to place against the wound. If you touch the edge, that is okay. I then take my conform back out of my pocket and I apply the telfa to the wound, and then I start to roll on my conform. The conform direction does not really matter. The tension should be snug, but not too tight. You want the conform to go well above and well below the telfa, and if your wound is in a place where it is near a fetlock, then you definitely want to go at least part way down the fetlock to help secure your telfa in its place. At the end of applying your conform, you take the end and you can tuck it into one of the previous layers. Now you take your combine roll and you tuck your brown gauze in your pocket and you start your combine roll around the front of the limb, and then you begin to wrap that around the limb. This portion of the bandage will determine where the remainder of your bandage sits. Your veterinarian may move this bandage up or down depending on what you are trying to bandage. The big thing with this layer is you want everything nice and even, and you want to avoid any large wrinkles. Some wrinkles are going to happen, but that is okay. It is not a perfect bandage. Next, you take your brown gauze. I like to start my brown gauze in approximately the center of the bandage. I think that it helps hold things in place until I have everything completely bandaged. You want to apply just a little bit more than medium pressure to the brown gauze when you are pulling across the front of the limb. Do not pull across the back portion of the limb. And you want to leave about an inch at the bottom and at the top for the brown gauze. You want to overlap your brown gauze by about 50% each revolution. And again, with this layer, you want to avoid any large wrinkles, as wrinkles can create uneven pressure and can create bandage sores. Now that we are at the end of our roll, the nice thing about brown gauze is that it will stick to itself and it lays quite nicely. As you can see here, then we just smooth that down. Now you take your vet wrap, and I like to pull just the very end off a little bit to help me get started on the limb, you want the roll facing out towards you. And again, you want to make sure that you are going in the same direction as your combine roll and your brown gauze. With the vet wrap, you're going to want to pull it out to about 50 to 75% of the amount that it can stretch. And again, you only want to pull across the front portion of the limb, and you want to minimize the wrinkling that the vet wrap can have a tendency to do. Similar to the brown gauze layer, you want to take your vet wrap and have about 3/4 of an inch between the edge of the vet wrap and the edge of the combine roll. So you want to cover up your brown gauze, but you don't want your vet wrap to be contacting the horse's skin. Similarly to the brown gauze, you want your vet wrap to overlap by about 50% each revolution. As you can see here though, I went around the top twice in a row and then continued back down the limb. Now, once we are at the end of the vet wrap roll, the vet wrap will also stick to itself. Now that you are done applying the vet wrap, I like to squeeze the vet wrap just a little bit just to help make sure that it all adheres to itself and that the bandage is secure. You should be able to fit 2 fingers into the bandage to make sure that it is not too tight on the horse's limb, and overall the bandage should look very even and uniform. Next, grab your pre-stretched elasticon. The size of the elasticon doesn't really matter, it just has to function. You're also going to want to have a set of scissors with you to be able to cut it. Now, to start your elasticon, I like to start with at least 3/4 of the elasticon around the top of the bandage, with only about 1/4 touching the horse's skin. And then I spiral up and then spiral back down. As you can see here, the big thing with elasticon is that you do not want to apply any tension on this. All you want to do is seal the top of the bandage and the bottom of the bandage. And you want to make sure that on the bottom of the bandage that you have elasticon that actually contacts the skin of the lower limb, as sometimes the elasticon can separate and then the bandage is not sealed. And again, just make sure that there is no tension on this elasticon. It is also helpful if you have the end of the elasticon on a downward spiral. It helps it stick better. I don't know why, it just does. And now you've completed your bandage. A huge thank you to the Equine Journey for the use of their horses. They are a wonderful 501c charity, and their link is in the description of the video. If you are able to donate, please do. I would recommend that you do at least a few practice bandages on your horse. After the first bandage, you can take the materials off that you have applied and re-roll everything so that you can practice on your horse again, or you can even practice on yourself. Thank you for coming to watch this video.